record. Put in gallery view. Okay, so relationship issues. I'm super excited to tackle this one, but in order for me to deliver the best message for you guys, I'm going to ask for your help in writing either in the chat here, or you can text me about any relationship questions, issues, things that you think you're alone on, literally anything, because the more you guys can give me, the more I can coach about on this call. Like, I love involving you guys. So make sure you do that. We're going to tackle some main communication problems between couples, whether you guys are not communicating, whether you're communicating inefficiently, whether you're single and you know that past communication issues or past, self-doubt or whatever is now causing you to either not want to date or, be super picky, whatever the case may be. We're going to tackle the very deep topic of relationships today. Now, we won't get to every facet of relationships. So today we're going to focus on communication. But that's not to say going forward in other calls, we won't address other issues as well. So the main issues in relationships that, and again, I'm not a counselor. I'm not a therapist. I'm just someone who has done a lot of self-growth, a lot of research on communication, a lot of just research in how people interact. So for those of you who are watching this, who are my social work or psychology people in here, please don't take any offense by me coming on here and knowing what I don't know. This is just my input and what I've helped people with throughout this program. So just keep that in mind. So from what I've found, the three biggest issues are either a couple is not communicating at all, and it's very surface level and almost edited in a sense because someone's afraid of the other person knowing really how they feel, or that they're crazy or they're damaged or whatever it is. Or you're communicating ineffectively where you guys are both just aggravating the shit out of each other. Sorry, turn this off. Aggravating the crap out of each other. Or you're reacting instead of communicating, where you don't communicate until you get really peeved, and then it comes out as a bold, you freak the hell out, all right? That's what happens. You push it off to the point where it just boils over. Those are the three most common scenarios that I see. And a lot of times in different phases of a relationship, you may have been all three of those, So my hopes are to shine a little bit of light on that and give you guys some tools to get through it. Now, for single people, this translates into having a really high guard up or being overly selective. I'm not talking about having high standards. I'm saying finding things that could go wrong with that person before you guys have even gotten anywhere near a serious point. Or, saying no to dates because you don't want them to look at you or whatever, or get to know you or turn you down. Whether you're in a relationship or you're single, a lot of the issues that have plagued us with our hormones, our self-esteem, what we feel about ourselves and what we feel about our illnesses, that has made us have a guard up. Whether that's causing us to not communicate or communicate completely ineffectively, it all stems back to how we feel about ourselves and the level of how deserving we feel of being, making a big stink, making a big deal. Ultimately what it boils down to. Or just I want to wring his friggin' neck in out of nowhere. All of that stuff all stems back to communication. So I see you laughing over there, Miss Caitlin. But yeah, no, we've all been there. Trust, we've all been there. But communication is so important. And one of the biggest tips I could give you guys is to learn about each other. And this is true. I don't care if you've been together forever. How many times we kind of just settle into knowing the person we're with. And of course, you know them through and through. But when was the last time you took the time to actually get to know each other on a, all right, you can't hear me very well. Is my sound okay, guys? Can you hear me better now? Okay. So, sorry. Oh, get to know each other. When was the last time, you guys you took the time to dive deep? And you might be like, I have no idea what the hell that means. What am I going to ask? What are we going to talk about? What? But really knowing how each other feels about certain scenarios. A lot of times we just discuss circumstances as they pop up. we don't really go back and reflect on them unless it's happened to us. But we don't talk about, how do you feel about me having to balance my hormones? How do you feel about the fact that, I get crazy every month around, PMS time? I don't know. Just how do you feel about is a question I feel women really shy away from when it comes to illness and hormones and stuff, because it's like, who the hell wants to talk about it, first of all? But second of all, it's like, how do I bring that convo up? Why would I bring that convo up? There's a certain level of confidence that comes with owning your shit. And that means the shit that's defective too. Because trust me, I got a laundry list, and the deal was out the gate, this is me, this is my part of my life, we're in this together, right? And luckily with Nick it was, but it's nothing to feel shame about. So if you are freaking out, that you're in a mood, and it's not your normal mood, you're just really in the dumps right now, could be hormonal. What's the point? What's the problem in giving your partner a heads up and being like, look, I'm just warning you ahead of time. I'm really sorry. I need some more kind of patience, or I need you to insert what you need here, at least for this week, because I'm going through some hormonal flaring. So, I want it to be peaceful. So just bear with me, making it more like a warning versus just being down in the dumps and mopey. And then the minute he goes to say something to you, you want to bite his head off, what's worse? Being the person that's like, this is my situation, and we can work this out together. Here's what I need. Or being the one that's mopey for a week and then attacks because something triggers you, and I have been on both sides of the coin, by the way. So I don't say that without knowing exactly what that's like. So I recommend doing some things like, I really, really, really love the 5 love languages test. And they say that you should take that test frequently, especially if you're going through personal growth, because you're going to be evolving, you're going to be changing, you're going to have different levels of priority in what you want, what you need. And as we become more open and as we grow, our love needs change. We may become a person who likes physical touch versus quality time. Who knows? And those of you who don't know the love languages test, it's amazing. You can get it right online. Just Google the 5 love languages and you'll find the test. I recommend you take this if you're single or if you're with someone. If you're with someone, I recommend you both take it and then compare results with each other. 5 love languages is an amazing concept, and it's basically that there's 5 main ways we give and feel loved. There's physical touch, words of affirmation, quality time, gifts, and acts of service. And just to give you a little bit of background on that, when Nick and I first moved in together, we ran into some issues because we had not taken the 5 love languages test, and we gave and received love very differently. For example, I am someone who wants to spend quality time with the person I'm with, and I'm also a words of affirmation girl. I'd say those are tied now. But back then when we took the test for the first time, I'm someone who likes quality time. I don't care if the house is a mess. I mean, I do care, but I would rather spend time with you than to have you up cleaning the house while I'm sitting down because I don't feel well. To me, it feels like a bad thing. It feels like I'm not doing that, or I'm not doing enough, and you're having to pick up my slack, and it feels awful. I'd rather you just come home from work, sit down with me, hang out with me, and I'll get to the dishes slowly another day or whatever. Tomorrow, I'm not going to leave it for a week, but you get what I'm saying. So Nick's way of showing love, and we didn't know this, is acts of service. So to Nick, doing the dishes because I'm in pain and I can't is his way of showing love. And acts of service is also how he feels loved. So if I were to do little things for him, I don't even know, I make the bed every morning now. That's my one thing that I do, just because I feel like it's nice that he has a nice place to get changed when he comes home from work. I just think I love making a bed in the morning, by the way. If you've seen any of my morning videos, I'm big on that. But I didn't know that him doing that was him showing love. I genuinely thought it was that he was disappointed in me, or, bummed out that I didn't get it done. And he would rather clean up because I couldn't than spend time with me. And he didn't realize that I was so upset because he was cleaning the dishes, because who the hell would be upset that you're doing the dishes, right? So in taking the love languages test, we were both like, oh, wow, like we didn't even realize that there were multiple ways to show and receive love before that. So now it was groundbreaking. We now have a better idea of how we could show the other person that they're loved in the way they receive it the best, and vice versa. So ever since then, it's been great. We just try to balance each other out as much as possible. So I highly recommend love languages test. One, to learn about yourself more, and then learn about your spouse more, and then compare with each other and see how you guys can be compatible in that sense, now knowing what you know. I also recommend Mark Acetta. It's Acetta. Mark, I think it's a C or a K. I just scribbled it down on this notepad. I don't even know what the hell I wrote, but it's Mark Acetta. I know that much. It's a C. Okay. Color personality test. This is really, really great. So the color personality test breaks us up into different types of colors based on our answers on this test, this long test with a bunch of random questions. They say to you, be as honest as possible. No one else sees these results, like these answers of yours. So don't pick the ones you think sound conventionally good. Like, don't think what you think you should answer. You have to be like as honest as possible on this test, and then it'll tell you what color personality you have. And now, without getting into a forever long, in-depth lecture on the color personalities, this is all on Mark Acetta's website. Red personalities, for example, are very blunt, to the point. They don't have time for details. They can come across sometimes as like harsh or mean or aggressive, but they don't mean it. It's just that they're very much like to the point, and like they're not very sensitive either. So they just like that from other people, for them to be to the point and just let's go. Yellow personalities are people who are more sensitive. You know, they really need to feel supported, to feel welcome, to feel a part of something, to have like a lot of integrity. Sometimes reds and yellows clash the most in the workplace because reds don't know any other way to be, and they're just like boom, boom, boom. And yellows are like, are you mad? Like, you know, so it ends up being a clash. Now in relationships, obviously, if you've been together with the person you're with for a while, you don't clash all that much, you know, not more than our average bickering couples do. But knowing what personality you have and knowing what personality someone else has in just like a written out kind of here's your answer form is very enlightening in how you communicate with them and how you like to be communicated with. So knowing as you read it, I'm not doing a very good job at representing how awesome this test is, but as you read the descriptions of the different color personalities, you're going to relate to a lot. You're gonna be like, oh my God, yeah, that's definitely me. I didn't even realize. And it's just very good to have that self-reflection, whether you're single and a couple. But again, it's more data for you two to kind of bond over and talk about and know each other about. Okay. So those two tests I think would be fun to maybe plan like a date night, excuse me, and go out to like a cafe, or I don't know what the hell's around you guys, but go somewhere fun. I don't care if you go in your car, and just do the tests and have a talk. Take 20 minutes out of the norm of the day to day and just get to know each other a little bit more than you probably already have. This is a simple thing here, but I was surprised when I brought this up throughout the week on a lot of my calls that this is kind of a groundbreaking concept. But ask how each other feels about stuff a lot, even if it's just random stuff, even if it's stuff from their day. A lot of times people will just kind of, say, how's your day? It was all right. This schmuck pissed me off, and then this drama happened, and blah, blah, blah. And usually we sit there and we're like, oh my God, that sucks. Or we like trash talk with them, right? But there's a certain power. Sorry, guys. I lose my voice at this time, like every night. But there's a certain kind of power and safety that comes with really feeling heard and really feeling like knowing that the person you love the most just genuinely is interested in your feelings about something. And a lot of times we don't stop and just say, like we do the typical like therapy, like, how does it make you feel? But it's honestly a very supportive thing to hear. How do you feel about that? oh, this pissed me off at work. I'm so stressed, because I hear about spouse stress more than I hear about your stress sometimes, guys. Like about like, oh, my husband's super stressed out, right? Ask him how he feels about little things that happen throughout the day. Ask him questions about like, well, what can you do to kind of make that better tomorrow or whatever. It sounds like such a stupid and simple suggestion, but it's more powerful when it's consistently done. It opens up dialogue, and it makes you both feel safer talking to each other. Also, he'll take it by example and start doing the same. So you'll both, by default, be getting to know each other even more than you already are from day to day. Those of you who do this already, disregard. But let's see. What else did I write here in my chicken scratch? Oh, this is a big one. It's a big one. Asking why the other person is angry when you're having a fight. That is like the last thing most of us ever want to ask the person that we're in a fight with, because we just want to freaking yell at them and be like, you know what? You suck. And we want to be right most of the time. We get pushed to the point where we want to just be right. And that's the slippery slope. So it's hard to have empathy for somebody who's really pissing you off at that moment. But is your goal to argue until one of you succeeds and conquers, or is your goal to figure out whatever it is that's upsetting you both and move on together stronger and happier? So I recommend when you get into a fight, if you have a spouse or a partner or whatever that responds to you really aggressively and negatively by saying, why are you angry right now? It's such an uncommon question to ask when someone else is really amped up and pissed off, that it'll probably take them aback in that moment. And they'll be like, and they can either blow up even more, but it'll resonate with them. It'll stick with them that you asked that because it's important, or it'll just disarm them. And then they'll be like, I'm angry because blah, blah, blah. And then you can talk about it and you can figure it out together, but either way, planting the seed of why are you angry right now? And I mean, you can do, the why are you disappointed right now? Why are you sad right now? Do whatever. But the asking why they feel that way and getting them to talk about it when they're expecting you to either walk away, cry, or freak out at them makes it a lot easier to not get to the point of fighting and just talk about that shit earlier. Which, how many times would that save a fight if we and our partners did that together? We just addressed something when it happened and moved on. Make life so much easier. This is another classic. We learned this in couples therapy, which is like, I feel like this is the most classic advice ever, but this changed everything in how we communicate, even with other people. But when you blank, it makes me feel blank, versus you're doing X, Y, and Z, or you're making me feel like, you don't care about me, or you're not attractive, or whatever the hell it is. Instead of it saying, like, I don't think you realize, but when you say that, whatever it is, it makes me feel like you're not attracted to me, or you don't love me, or, I don't know, whatever it is that the fight is about. Do you guys get what I'm saying? I got two lonely cameras showing. I got Ocean, I got Shelby, but am I making sense here? Because again, saying when you blank, it makes me feel blank. It's not accusing or attacking that other person. It's not coming from a place of defense where that other person is like, whoa, I'm not an asshole. Okay. Let's back it up, because then no one's communicating. Then both people are just trying to be right and nobody is heard. And that's where the frustration builds. So expressing that when someone does something, it makes you feel a certain way, puts the ball in their court to decide if they're going to change that or not, or to even maybe just acknowledge that you're feeling that way if they didn't realize it before. The amount of things that we get mad at because of the stories that we make up about it unintentionally, from the past, from our own insecurities, from, the expression on their face, the tone in their voice, from our fears and our insecurities combined, we create this, if he's saying this or feeling this way, it must mean this. And that screws us up. So when you bring it out and say, when you do this, it makes me feel this, it's like a relief to the other person to hear what it is that's upsetting you before it comes out as pure emotion and rampage. Okay. So that's a huge one. Especially for me, I'm someone who I would not talk about something until it was a confrontation. I hated it. The thought of like bringing something up, believe it or not, guys, the thought of bringing something up made my stomach turn, because either I was afraid to have a fight, or I was afraid it was not a big deal and I was just being dramatic. I was afraid to look pathetic, or like overly sensitive, or I don't know, just not have my point heard. All of this shit. I was like that. I was there and really hated setting boundaries. Hated it so much. I would just say yes just to avoid setting boundaries, and then be pissed off about saying yes later on. So the when you blank, it makes me feel blank has been huge for improving my relationships, even with friends. How many times does a friend do something to piss you off and you just never say anything about it because you're afraid that they're not going to be your friend anymore, or you don't want to fight with your friend? It's not that big a deal, So having that setup has gotten through a lot of just issues, just small minor issues that weren't even really issues to begin with. They're just miscommunication. So ask to be respected. If you're in a fight and you feel as if you're being disrespected, instead of fighting back harder and being like, you know what, asshole, let me tell you, instead of doing that, it's not a competition of who can be meaner to who. Ask to be respected. And if you're not respected, calmly walk away. If they're saying, where are you going? Say, I'm going to hang out in another room until you are calm enough to respect me. And then continue the conversation. You can direct a conversation, even if it's heated. It's just about pacing, and it's about knowing your boundaries and things like that, I really want you to respect me. I don't want you to yell at me. Let's discuss this together. I won't respond to you if you're yelling at me. Things like that. If they're not getting anywhere, getting up and walking away isn't you giving up or whatever it is that, an angry partner might yell at you as you walk away. It's just simply saying, we can absolutely talk about this right now if you respect me. If you're too mad to do that right now, we're going to put a lid on it until that's not the issue anymore. It's tough, but what's the point of fighting? No one is listening to each other when you're fighting. No one is communicating and actually receiving that information. We're just trying to beat out the other person to be right. What a waste of stress hormones, honestly. Can't be bothered. So, and then the biggest thing here is, what is the root of the issue that you're actually angry about? Because a lot of times it could be purely hormonal. That's okay. We can own that, or sometimes it's something that triggered a feeling you've been having for a long time. If you feel unheard and, something really stupid and insignificant happens, like you forgot to pick up something on the way home, and that was it. Like, you forgot to pick up cheese. I can't make my bread now. Like, blah, 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 whatever. What's the root of the issue? Is the root of the issue actually the friggin' cheese? Or is the root of the issue the fact that you feel like you do a lot and you can't ask for anything? Or you get all dolled up and he or she, doesn't say a damn thing to you, right? And you take it as, I look like crap, or they don't notice me, or they're going to go look at everybody else when we go out tonight. I'm bad, blah, blah, blah. That's not the problem. Is not that he or she did not compliment you. The problem is that you're feeling self-conscious, and that's the root of the issue. And maybe the problem is he should offer more compliments, because compliments don't hurt nobody either. Nobody ever died of too many compliments. So keep that in mind. Whenever you want to blow up about something and you have that conflicting thought of like, oh man, is this even worth saying anything? Or am I just being sensitive? Think deep and say, what's the root of the problem then? Because if I'm this upset about it, it is either just a hormonal mood swing, a super stressful day, or it's because it's a part of a bigger issue that's been a common theme for a bit, and it's just eating away at me. And I know I can confidently say I think everybody in here has been on all sides of that at some point with someone or other in the past. So just figuring out that root cause and then bringing it up in a way that is communicating rather than confronting is going to get you a lot farther than just letting it stay up here and simmer and simmer and simmer until something triggers you to explode. And then what is the ultimate ideal solution that you're seeking? If your solution, result you're seeking. If your result that you're seeking is to have your partner acknowledge they were wrong, then say that. As crazy as you might think I am for saying that, talking it out and then saying, you know, I really do just need to hear that you understand why I feel hurt. Do you need me to explain it to you? Like, do you know why I'm upset? And having them talk to you and talk it back to you, that's not being needy. That's asking for exactly what you want. Is your result that you want to be complimented more? Bring it up. When I get all dolled up for a night out with you, it's so rare that we ever go out. If, you know, I really do value compliments. It would make me feel better if you complimented me more. Don't be afraid of thinking what the solution would be and then or the result would be. I don't know why I keep saying solution. What the result would be, and then asking for it in a clear way. Doesn't make you nuts, doesn't make you needy, doesn't make you a bitch. Just makes you an effective communicator so that your partner doesn't have to guess what it is that you want to feel happy. Because wouldn't you hate to do? I hate when, like, I learned this, we all learned this a while ago, that men, they can have that face where it looks like they're deep in thought and there's literally nothing going on. They can just zone out, which I don't understand because that just never happens ever for me. I wish, you know? But when we have to sit there, how many times have you guys been like, I wonder like what's wrong, or like what he's thinking, or he's upset, and really there's nothing wrong, but we sit there and wonder about it? Don't. Just talk about it. And then you take all that concern off your partner's back and you get the answer you want and more clarification on what's up. All right, let me check this chat and then I have some texts. Okay, when it said I felt literally saved my relationship, it helped my partner open up about money issues. I thought he was going to break up with me, but he was just short on money and wasn't able to come see me as much. It was our first fight, but we remained calm and were able to talk things through. That's amazing. Yeah, money's a big one because people have a hard time communicating, period. Then you go and include finances in it and people are like, you know, admittedly, money is like my least favorite thing to talk about on the calls with people when I try to bring them into the program or anything and see if it's a fit. I hate talking about money. I used to hate talking about money with Nick to the point where I was like, I don't want to know. Just tell me if we're like in foreclosure or something. Like, it was so bad. And then I left that all on him and we were in some deep shit with finances. So I had to like join in with him on that. Communication is key. Let's see. I'm definitely going through this right now, so it's very important to me. Awesome. That test taught my husband and me so much about us. I love taking those tests. I love them. There's a ton of personality tests online, but those are the most simple and like not time consuming ones I found that are very, very insightful. Like, they give you a good amount of info and they don't try to like pitch you on stuff. I'm a tie between words of affirmation and acts of service. My husband is physical touch. Yeah. So for someone who's physical touch, words of affirmation don't usually come natural, like as the first thing, but they might be the ones to like grab your, you know, put an arm around you or nudge you or tickle you or like just give you a kiss in the cheek. And like that means a lot to them. So knowing those two distinct differences is huge. Okay. I'm a mix of everything. Ocean, are you a mix of everything because you took the test and you have it all, it's like broken up evenly? That's awesome. You are a well-rounded lover. That's awesome. I've never met anyone that's like a perfect thing. I'm like off by a few percent here and there, and I'm like close to it, but I'm big on words of affirmation and quality time. Asking why changed so many lines of communication between my husband and me. He really blew up the first time, but it helped so much. Yeah, I mean, I'm just giving you guys a warning. Like, it may make them freak out because they're like, they think you're being condescending or they think you're being like antagonistic. Like, what do you mean? Why am I angry? Blah, 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 you know? So asking, why are you angry? Don't go based on their first reaction. You just created a safe space where someone can talk to you about it instead of acting out or freaking out. In the future, that changes a lot. There's a different level of trust that's built there subconsciously because they know their feelings would be safe and they're asked for. So awesome. I asked that and then it went crazy. That's what ended my last relationship, and relationship I'm in now is helping so much. Yeah. And that's the other thing. It's a huge, huge indicator of when it's If you ask, why are you angry, and then it ends the relationship basically, then you count your blessings and you keep on moving because they did you a favor. That's for sure. And then I read that. Okay. When you said I felt, okay. It's always the cheese. Yeah. So when you try and communicate about something that happened, but every time it turns into a huge fight of him being defensive, how can you communicate better? Hormones and anxiety make it hard to talk about it where it won't seem like jumping down his throat. Don't wait till the point don't wait until the point where it's emotionally charged. That's the difference. And that's why a lot of times we push off the convos because we don't want to ruin a night, or we don't want to cause a fight. But when you bring it up as a conversation, and you bring it up saying, I don't know if you realize, but when you do blank, it makes me feel blank. It's a different convo. If they get defensive at that point, even, that's when you can calmly just say, I just want to have a conversation about this because it's important, and see if they're willing to do that. If they continue to yell at you or get really blown up about it, then that's when you just say, I'm just asking you to respect me right now. If you're not able to talk to me and respect me and have a conversation about it, like, we can talk a different time. And keep that calm. As hard as it is, trust me, it ends up opening communication at different times. And it gives you a little sense of satisfaction knowing that they're really, really, really want to yell at you and you're not letting it happen. So I used to write out what I wanted to say because I sometimes get overwhelmed with conflict. Yeah, and I would encourage you guys not to view it as conflict. I would encourage you guys to view it as, if you took your car to the shop, you want your mechanic to tell you if something's not working properly, right? It's not that your car is a piece of crap. Maybe it is, not to judge, but it's not that your car is a piece of crap and they're judging you as a human being for having such a crappy car. It's just that the car needed maintenance. So your mechanic's telling you what needs to be fixed. It's the same thing. If our relationship, like if we have any issues that come up, wouldn't we want to know about it and fix it rather than wait till you're broken down on the side of the road? You got to call for a towing truck. That was a good analogy. I'm going to put that one in my stocking for later. Damn. But you guys get what I'm saying? So conflict will happen if someone doesn't like what you're saying, but it doesn't have to be built into a fight. It doesn't have to pile on top of each other until you're both yelling. So don't fear that ahead of time. If you go into a conversation deciding that you are going to steer the convo and you're going to make sure that it's a civilized conversation, even if you have to continue it at a later time, it's going to be a civilized convo because that's the standard you're setting. That's how our convo is going to go. It's going to be civil. Whether it's now, whether it's tomorrow, we will keep trying until we can discuss this like civil adults. And if you can't, then that's pretty telling. So let me see. I have some texts about relationships. Okay. With my relationship, I just feel like I'm super moody towards him and I'm not always sure how to separate my emotions from just everyday life emotions. It's also really hard to find time to yourself when you feel you have to worry about your partner. And then I said, worry how? And then she said, their wants and needs. So my advice for this is to see where, again, look for the root of the problem there. Is it that you are not communicating your points properly, but that you're really feeling like these are important points that you need resolution on? Because if so, then it's not that you're just being moody. It's not that you're not always trying to separate your emotions from everyday life emotions. Emotions are emotions. It's one thing to be like, I woke up today and I am randomly crying and screaming at people, so it must be hormonal. Like, that's something is just like we all know that feeling, that like you're hot in the ears all day kind of feeling, where you're just ready to go, like for anything. That's different. But emotions are emotions. If it's something that really has been weighing on you that you want to discuss, that's different. There is no ideal time to feel emotion. It's going to happen. It's life. The best you can do is just try to communicate with your partner as best you can and not feel like a burden because you have emotions like a human. Now, really hard to find time to yourself when you feel you have to worry about your partner and their wants and needs. That's a multi-layer little cookie there, isn't it? So one, everybody deserves time for themselves. everybody. So if it's truly a matter of your partner trying to consume all of your time, that's where a boundary needs to be put down. And it doesn't make you selfish for putting that boundary down and saying, I need X, Y, and Z. I need time to go hang out with so-and-so this week, or I need whatever the hell it is that you need. There's nothing wrong with that. Now, if you're just like out at the club all the time and like he's like home by himself, oh yeah, I mean, you should kind of maybe simmer down a little bit and spend some time with him. But if you're just like, I can't plan anything because I have to be considerate to if, you know, he wants me to go out at that point or whatever, that sounds like a him problem. I have a hard line with that. Everybody deserves personal time. All of us. And discussing that with them is important too, because they may not even realize that you feel like they're consuming your time. Bring that up sensitively though. Whoever texted this to me, text me privately. I'll help you bring that up sensitively. But yeah, everyone deserves their own personal time. Let's see what else I have. Okay. When my partner drinks, he gets way too handsy and way too aggressive. So that's rough. I would really evaluate how often it's happening and if it's a deal breaker for you if it continues. And that's not it's not ultimatum time. It's just saying, you know, for me to feel secure, happy, and comfortable in our home, I need this from you. And ultimately, going back on that boundary, you know, I'm never going to be the one to sit here and tell anybody what to do with their life or judge them for doing anything, because it's not my life. All I can do is offer input from the outside in. And I think that if it's truly becoming a matter of your safety and feeling uncomfortable, that it's a sacrifice to be made if you are expected to stay in that situation. It's, you know, both partners should compromise to meet each other at least halfway. And I think feeling severely uncomfortable in your own home, handsy and aggressive, like nobody wants to live in that. So coming up with a compromise should be something you work on together. And if it can't be, then I'd recommend the help of a professional in the field of like addiction and try to go that route. But not for 1 second should you feel bad or feel like you're overreacting, or if you acknowledge that that happens, that's what's happening. So don't let yourself feel like you're just being dramatic. I hope that was a good answer. I feel so bad. Sucks. So that's all I have in text right now. Did you guys want to add anything else? Let's see here. Oh, how do I deal with my partner's anxiety? Okay. So you have anxiety, you have body issues you're working on, health issues you're working on. You're prioritizing taking care of yourself to not only be the best you for you, but also for the people you love around you and for, you know, your future and being around longer and all this stuff. That being said, no one's perfect. Anxiety is nothing to be looked down upon. I think that if someone is going through something that is really affecting the people around them a lot, asking them to seek out help like you have isn't unreasonable. It's not that because you're a female and you're hormonal, that's the reason you need help. All human beings need help at different times in their life for different things, and there's no shame in that. I think there's a lot of just strength in reaching out for help and acknowledging that you can't do it on your own. So I would just, you know, again, approach it sensitively, but I would say out of concern for their well-being and their quality of life, I would say to them, you know, there's no shame in going to therapy. Do you want to go to a session together at first? You know, or do you want to reach out if they do go to therapy? You know, do you want to reach out to your doctor about this, your therapist about this? Just being their support in them seeking help is huge. But remember, ultimately, at the end of the day, it is up to them how much they want to receive that help and seek that help out. And it's also harder, I think, for men to just let their ego down and go to therapy. I think it's a scary thing because men are kind of taught not to express their feelings or emotions. So it is a scary thing. So have some patience with it, but don't feel bad asking them to handle their anxiety if it's so much for you to bear as well. Let's see here. Okay. So when you tell your partner your anxiety is bad and he just says you do it to yourself, it's getting annoying, what ways can I help him understand / what he can learn himself? Okay. So I like to explain it in terms of just more, I don't know. I don't know how to explain this, but I say to people, the brain is an organ, just like the lungs, just like the stomach, just like anything else. And sometimes there's malfunctions with the lungs. You need an inhaler. You have asthma. Your stomach, God knows I got stomach issues, I have colitis, but whatever. So why can't an organ like the brain that's in charge of literally storing everything we're exposed to every single day, why can't that brain, and it's also in charge of our movement, our survival, our emotions, our thoughts, our memories, our personality, everything's all up in there. So why couldn't that have a malfunction every now and again, or be a little bit off like any other organ? And that's not shameful, So I would explain it to him in terms of it's a chemical reaction. Maybe send him some literature you find online, but like, it's not me just being a pain in the ass. It's not me just riling myself up for fun. I don't want to feel this way, but it's a symptom. Like a symptom of asthma would be like, I'm having an asthma attack, I need my inhaler. It's a symptom. So it's not your doing. And I'm sorry, because I know I've heard that, not from Nick, but I've heard that from so many people in the past, and it sucks. Like, there's no more demeaning feeling than admitting that you have like an uncontrollable anxiety and having somebody make you feel like you're dumb or nuts or like you're annoying. I've been there and it sucks. I'm sorry. How do I stop myself right before or during a time when the bottle's uncapped / I'm yelling? How do I figure out the difference between someone who doesn't want to communicate versus a miscommunication? Okay, that's a good question. So first, how do I stop myself right before or during a time when the bottle's uncapped or I'm yelling? So when you start to feel that feeling, stop yourself and try to think it out to yourself first. You can ask yourself questions to kind of talk yourself out of it. If you can't sit there and like dive in deep before discussing it with them, you're too heated to actually communicate, then there's no point in communicating because it will become a fight. And then it'll be a while till either of you are listening. So when you start to feel that hot building feeling, that bubbling feeling, or you're like, you want to just snap back at them, stop. And even in your phone, just kind of journal about it real quick. Why am I pissed off? What's the root cause? What do I want to communicate to the person? Write it out. When you blank, it makes me feel blank. Plot that out. And if you're too annoyed to do that at the moment, that is a good indication that you will not think your words out and your intention is to lash out. And again, without shame, I've been there, but that's not the time to communicate and solve that problem. And sometimes people need time to cool off to do that, and that's fine. So what's the other part of the question? How do I figure out the difference between someone who doesn't want to communicate versus a miscommunication? Okay, got it. So if you're talking with someone and you feel like they're acting uncharacteristic, right? Like usually they're one way and now they're acting this way. Why can't they see it? Blah, blah, blah. Miscommunication. If you asked for something and that person did it wrong, miscommunication. If you both have different ideas about what the other one is thinking or the situation that's going on, miscommunication. If someone doesn't even want to talk to you about how you feel or what happened or anything, if someone is historically unremorseful, if it's always being turned back on you somehow, if somehow you got these silly ideas in your head and you're making this all up and blah, 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 all of those things, that's someone who doesn't want to communicate. If you tell someone how you feel, they blow you off, and then they do the same thing time and time and time again. Someone who doesn't want to communicate. So I always have, I always like to, think of what's the term I'm looking for? I like to give someone the benefit of the doubt. Maybe I'm not seeing something that happened. If he's not, which is an example, he's not texting me back. I'm the person that's like, he probably saw it and like somebody asked him a question or something, he forgot to send it, or he's just busy right now or whatever. I'm that person, right? So I like to give him the benefit of the doubt as much as possible. But if it comes down to a point of me having to, what's the word I'm looking for? Sorry, guys, it's the time of the night. compromise. If it comes down to me over compromising my standards, my boundaries, what I'm feeling, everything time and time again, and on their part, there's no effort being put into fixing it, that's someone who's hell bent on not communicating with you. And I would watch out for that for sure. These are great questions, by the way. So, time are we at now? Wow. We did fill up this time. So I am going to hop off of here and let you guys enjoy the rest of your Tuesday night. As usual, I love feedback. It really helps me serve you guys better. So please tell me what you thought about this after the fact. I'm going to put this recording up in the page. And yeah, I will talk to you guys throughout the week. I hope that this helped. Feel free to comment any other questions that you guys have once I post it. All right. Bye, guys.